My name is Stephen Fegge, and I am the worship associate today. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of the North Hills. Whether you've been with this church a decade or more, or this is your first time visiting, we welcome you. Whatever the faith and traditions of your past, we welcome you. Whatever your theological stance, we welcome you. Whoever you are and whomever you love, we welcome you. Wherever you come from, whatever your journey has been, we welcome you. Newcomers and guests are always welcome to participate in any of our church activities. If you'd like more information about our church or Unitarian Universalism, please talk to our minister, Reverend Jane Thixton. You can find her contact information on our website. We recognize that we occupy the unceded ancestral land of many indigenous peoples, including the Delaware, the Shawnee, the Seneca Nation, members of the Haudenosaunee Confederacy. We honor these traditional native inhabitants of this place and lift up their historic and enduring relationship with this land, which is their ancestral history, which is their ancestral territory. If you're with us in person, please join us for coffee hour following the service, out the side door by the kitchen, weather permitting. Our coffee hour on Zoom is being discontinued for now. With the growing COVID cases in our country, we ask that you remain masked while in the building. Thank you for your cooperation. Again, welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of the North Hills. It's good to be together, in person and virtually.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome. And to you out there in YouTube land, just want to tell you that our walls here in this sanctuary are covered with children's art. The Bellwood preschool has literally covered every inch of these walls with their art, and it's such a colorful, joyous place today. So I offer for opening our service today these words by Wayne Arneson. We come together today seeking a reality beyond our narrow selves that binds us in compassion, love, and understanding to other human beings and to the interdependent web of all beings. May our hearts and minds be opened to the power and the insight that weave together the scattered threads of our experience and help us remember the wholeness of which we are a part.
Our chalice reminds us that the fire within ourselves is the same fire that illuminates the universe. It is our reminder that all is connected, even though the space of the void is vast, and our experience here is but a blip in the cosmic timeline. This flame is our promise that in our smallness and our short time on this earth, that we live intently and deeply, with love for one another, with honesty and integrity, to be guided by rational thought and critical thinking, and with a sense of shared responsibility. For as the late astronomer Carl Sagan reminded us, this pale blue dot is the only home we've ever known. Imagine a virtual chalice. Please join us in singing our opening hymn, Blue Boat Home, number 1064 in the Teal Hymnal.
I
please join us in stating our church's mission statement. The words are on the screen. By building a loving religious community that nourishes the spirit, celebrates life, and cherishes the connectedness of all things, we will transform ourselves and our world.
So, our time for all ages, we've got a story, and it's an old one, so some of you may know it. It was new to me, and I thought it might express the interdependent web that we are talking about today. So, I'm going to share it with you, and there will be pictures on the screen, thanks to Don Nelson. Once there was a tree. Oh, and it's by Shel Silverstein. Once there was a tree, beautiful tree, and she loved a little boy. And every day the boy would come, and he would gather her leaves and make them into crowns and play king of the forest. He would climb up her trunk and swing from her branches. Do you see the feet hanging out the bottom of the branch up there? Yeah, and the shoes on the ground. And eat apples. Ooh, she's an apple tree. And they would play hide and go seek. And when he was tired, he would sleep in her shade. And the boy loved the tree very much. And the tree was happy. But time went by. Yeah, you see the little heart he's carved. It says, me and tea, me and tree. Time went by, and the boy grew older. There's 2 hearts now, 2 feet, 2 sets of feet. But often the tree was alone. Then one day the boy came to the tree, and the tree said, "Come, boy, come and climb in my trunk and swing from my branches and eat apples and play in my shade and be happy." "I am too big to climb and play," said the boy. "I want to buy things and have fun. I want some money. Can you give me some money?" "I'm sorry," said the tree, "but I have no money. I only have leaves and apples. Take my apples, boy, and sell them in the city. Then you will have money, and then you will be happy." So the boy climbed up the tree and gathered her apples and carried them away. And the tree was happy. But the boy stayed away for a long time, and the tree was sad. Then one day the boy came back, and the tree shook with joy. And she said, "Come, boy, come, climb up my trunk and swing from my branches and be happy." "I am too busy to climb trees," said the boy. "I want a house to keep me warm," he said. "I want a wife and I want children, and so I need a house. Can you give me a house?" "I have no house," said the tree. "The forest is my house, but you may cut off my branches and build a house. Then you will be happy." And so the boy cut off her branches and carried them away to build his house. And the tree was happy. But the boy stayed away for a long time. And when he came back, the tree was so happy she could hardly speak. "Come, boy," she whispered, "come and play." "I am too old and sad to play," said the boy. "I want a boat that will take me far away from here. Can you give me a boat?" "Cut down my trunk and make a boat," said the tree. "Then you can sail away and be happy." And so the boy cut down her trunk and made a boat and sailed away. And the tree was happy, but not really. And after a long time, the boy came back again. "I am sorry, boy," said the tree, "but I have nothing left to give you. My apples are gone." "My teeth are too weak for apples," said the boy. "My branches are gone," said the tree. "You cannot swing on them." "I am too old to swing on branches," said the boy. "My trunk is gone," said the tree. "You cannot climb." "I am too tired to climb," said the boy. "I am sorry," sighed the tree. "I wish that I could give you something, but I have nothing left. I am just an old stump. I'm sorry." "I don't need very much now," said the boy. "Just a quiet place to sit and rest." "Well," said the tree, straightening herself up as much as she could, "well, an old stump is good for sitting and resting. Come, boy, sit down, sit and rest." And the boy did. You can see in the picture how old he's become. And the tree was happy. The end. Interesting story indeed. I'll be talking about it a little more in the sermon. But kids have an activity to go to, so we will sing you out.
Good morning. I'm Chris Hill with the Lay Pastoral Care Team. During our service, we create this sacred space for sharing within our community. It's a time to share significant life passages with the congregation so you can be held in loving care. I'll be reading the joys and sorrows this morning, and Ruth Horowitz, another member of our team, will be placing a stone representing each joy or sorrow in the sand. The sand represents our congregation supporting our sorrows and lifting up our joys. From Carol Balance, "My great joy is the fine UUCNH folks who are willing to give a day to support democracy by working at the polls. Many thanks to Lou Bartolomucci, Liz Perking, Julie Kant, Hal Dixler, and Stephen Fagey. Many thanks and apologies to anyone I missed. To all of those folks we say, we share in your joy." From Tony Palermo, "A joy and a sorrow." His joy: "My wife Pat has successfully passed her cataract surgery. Soon she'll be needing only reading glasses. Hooray!" To Tony and Pat, we say, we share in your joy. Also a sorrow from Tony: "A litany of good friends and relatives have serious health concerns, from concussions to strokes. Pat and I love them all and are helping them as much as we can." To Tony and Pat and their friends, we say, we hold you in our hearts. And also, as mentioned already, from many of us who have a connection to Bellwood, past or present, it's always wonderful to see the artwork and the art show and the creativity of the kids here, and to remember what a special part of our church Bellwood is, and to see it all here. So to everyone with any connection to Bellwood, we say, we share in your joy. We now place one more stone in the sand for all the joys and sorrows that exist in our hearts but remain unspoken today. We especially think of everyone suffering from this COVID-19 pandemic. Please read with me our caring words appearing on the screen, understanding that here includes all those watching. Let us hold in our circle of caring each person here. Let us hold in our hearts those who are unable to be with us today. Let us hold in our memories those who have moved on. Let us find comfort in knowing that we are not alone.
I invite you now to join me in a spirit of meditation or prayer. So please settle in a little more comfortably. Feel the support of the chair beneath you, the earth beneath your feet. Close your eyes if you wish. Allow your body to just relax into the sacred space you are in. The meditation I offer is an Ojibwe prayer. Grandfather, look at our brokenness. We know that in all creation only the human family has strayed from the sacred way. We know that we are the ones who are divided, and we are the ones who must come back together to walk the sacred way. Grandfather, Sacred One, teach us love, compassion, and honor, that we may heal the earth and heal each other. Let us pause for a few moments of silent reflection.
We know that our financial contributions to this congregation come from sacrifice and hard work. We are so grateful for this and commit together to ensure the funds we gather collectively do a greater good for ourselves and our world than they could have done alone. If you're here with us today in person, you can take your offering to the baskets in the back. If you're joining us virtually, you can make your offering by mailing a check to the church or going to the uucnh.org website, finding the link in the upper right-hand corner that says Donate, and making a contribution equivalent to what you would be putting in the basket today or more. The morning offering will now be given and gratefully received. Please join me in saying the dedication of the offering. May these gifts and the work of our hands and hearts give power to all we stand for as a community of faith. This following reading is an excerpt from Chief Seattle's message found in the book Thinking Like a Mountain by John C., Joanna Macy, and others. Chief Sealsh, or Seattle as he is now known, delivered a speech in his native tongue to his tribal assembly in the Pacific Northwest in 1854. Notes on the speech were jotted down by a Dr. Henry Smith, who emphasized that his own English was inadequate to render the beauty of Sealsh's imagery and thought. The version we now have was recreated from Dr. Smith's jottings by film scriptwriter Ted Perry in 1970. It contains several historical distortions and anachronisms, as well as the use of the generic male, which may or may not have been found in the original. While it can't be taken as a historical document, it represents the flavor of Sealsh's original message, and a viewpoint that we may finally be ready to hear today. Every part of this earth is sacred to my people. Every shining pine needle, every sandy shore, every mist in the dark woods, every clearing and humming insect is holy in the memory and experience of my people. We are part of the earth, and it is part of us. The perfumed flowers are our sisters, the deer, the horse, the great eagle, these are our brothers. The rocky crests, the juices of the meadows, the body heat of the pony, and human beings all belong to the same family. So when the great chief in Washington sends word that he wishes to buy our land, he asks much of us. The shining water that moves in the streams and rivers is not just water, but the blood of our ancestors. If we sell you our land, you must remember that it is sacred, and you must teach your children that it is sacred, and that each ghostly reflection in the clear water of the lakes tells of events and memories in the life of my people. The water's murmur is the voice of my father's father. The rivers are our brothers. They quench our thirst. The rivers carry our canoes and feed our children. If we sell you our land, you must remember and teach your children that the rivers are our brothers and yours, and you must henceforth give the rivers the kindness you would give any brother or sister. So we will consider your offer to buy the land. If we decide to accept, I will make one condition. The white people must treat the beasts of this land as their brothers and sisters. What is humanity without the beasts? If all the beasts were gone, people would die from a great loneliness of spirit. For whatever happens to the beasts soon happens to the people. All things are connected. You must teach your children that the ground beneath their feet is the ashes of our grandfathers, so that they will respect the land. Tell your children that the earth is rich with the lives of our kin. Teach your children what we have taught our children, that the earth is our mother. Whatever befalls the earth befalls the sons and daughters of the earth. If men spit upon the ground, they spit upon themselves. This we know. The earth does not belong to us. We belong to the earth. This we know. All things are connected like the blood which unites one family. All things are connected. Whatever befalls the earth befalls the sons and daughters of the earth. We do not weave the web of life. We are merely a strand in it. Whatever we do to the web, we do to ourselves.
what a beautiful anthem. And I really enjoyed having the words on the screens, because sometimes it's hard to make them out, and they are so appropriate for today's message. So thank you all. So this is my last in my year-long sermon series on the principles of Unitarian Universalism. So today we're looking at the seventh principle, in which we covenant to affirm and promote the respect for the interdependent web of all existence of which we are a part. Our current statement of principles grew out of earlier versions, and this latest version was developed in the early 1980s. As Kenneth Collier, author of Our Seven Principles, says, Unitarian Universalists went through a study process for 4 years that culminated at the 1984 General Assembly with the proposal of a new statement of Unitarian Universalist principles, and in 1985 with the adoption of that statement. So they proposed it in 84 and it adopted in 85. The 1984 proposal contained versions of each of the first 6 principles, but it did not directly mention interdependence. Many of us thought that there was something missing, and some of us were prepared to vote against the proposal unless it were changed. He continues, as the debate wore on and patience grew thin, the Reverend Paul LaRoe stood up and proposed this 7th principle. Some word crafting ensued, but because almost everyone agreed with it in substance, the final draft passed with few, if any, dissenting votes. So the 7th principle was an afterthought in a way, added at GA and not part of the original package the Commission had offered. Yet it had become in many ways, or it has now become in many ways, our most important and beloved principle. The 7th principle is an ecocentric statement. It does not say the interdependent web of humanity or even of life, nor does it say the interdependent web of all existence of which we are the stewards or for which we are responsible. No, it asserts an ecocentric egalitarianism. If we truly believe this and understand its implications, we need to become aware of the many ways we continue to view ourselves as separate from nature. I've been aware, to a certain degree, for some time. I now bristle when I hear people refer to people behaving badly as animals, and I'm starting to hear all the ways we talk as if we were alone in a universe of resources. Yet, I am still in many ways unaware. The giving tree story I shared earlier is something I just discovered in looking for something about interdependence for this service. Not being a parent, I don't know the children's literature that well. So I found this, I thought, oh, interdependent relationship, great. I thought it was a sweet story of how humans and non-humans depend on each other to get their needs met. And I only yesterday found out that it is in fact controversial. Thank you, Dawn. And after reading some articles about it, I realized that the relationship is rather one-sided. The only need that the tree gets met is that it makes it happy to give to the boy. The boy takes and takes from the tree to get his material needs met until there is nothing left of the tree but a stump he can sit on. And the articles point out that the boy doesn't even express gratitude for all the gifts of the tree. There's even more that gets into the gender business, and it goes on, but you get the idea. And so in any case, I'm still learning. I'm still learning all the ways we do use other beings, other creatures, all of our environment. Even the word environment bothers me because it puts us at the center. So the rest of the world, the rest of the universe. How would this story, the Giving Tree story, be different if the boy were a Native American? If he, like the author of the reading, believed that every part of this earth is sacred to my people, every shining pine needle, every sandy shore, every mist in the dark woods, every clearing and humming insect is holy in the memory and experience of my people. Aristotle first came up with the concept of the great chain of being, that hierarchy that puts humans at the top and even certain humans above others. In this model, each level serves the next highest level. Everything and everybody except those at the top has instrumental value only. Only those at the top have inherent value. And Descartes, the father of modern philosophy, said only humans have souls, and that animals are merely machines, and so they may be used by us. Well, Descartes obviously never had a cat. My little Waldo would tell him that humans were created to serve cats, no doubt about it. Other classical philosophers and theologians pretty much went with Descartes. No matter how different their ethical theories, they all still limited our moral responsibility to creatures endowed with reason, which includes angels, but not elephants. On this basis, rights have been denied not only to plants and animals, but to women, children, people of other races, the mentally challenged, and more. The ones deciding the criteria have been those in the most privileged position, and they have decided with whom they want to share their privileges. Our social justice efforts, whether feminism, anti-racism, class struggles, or what have you, have taken the approach of seeking to extend the rights of the most privileged group to others. The way we go about it is to show how the group in question is like the privileged group and so entitled to the same rights. I do believe that's changing now. As we're honoring the voices we're hearing, even if they don't sound like white men. But since the criteria for assigning both rights and responsibilities was long held to be reason, extending rights to non-privileged groups included or involved showing that these others had reason. But this is backwards. We need to start with the whole, not with any part. If we acknowledge that we are only a part of an interdependent web of existence, we need to take existence itself as the criterion. The world does not exist for the sake of humans. Ultimate value inheres in the whole, and each and every being that comprises it has intrinsic worth. David Abram, a visionary author, writes that European philosophy has consistently occupied itself with the question of human specialness. Ever since Aristotle, philosophers have been concerned to demonstrate in the most convincing manner possible that human beings are significantly different from other forms of life. It was not enough to demonstrate that human beings were unique, for each species is unique in its own way. Rather, it was necessary to show that the human form was uniquely unique, that our noble gift set us definitely apart from and above the rest of the animate world. Such demonstrations were, we may suspect, needed to justify the increasing manipulation and exploitation of the non-human nature by and for civilized mankind, or humankind. The necessity for such philosophical justification became especially urgent in the wake of the scientific revolution, when our capacity to manipulate other organisms increased 100-fold. Descartes' radical separation of the immaterial human mind from the wholly mechanical world of nature did much to fill this need. And Abram goes on to show how Darwin's theories put into question the claim of human specialness, and the focus shifted to language as that which sets us apart and above. He then challenges the claim of specialness even in our capacity for language, concluding that at the most primordial level of sensuous bodily experience, we find ourselves in an expressive, gesturing landscape in a world that speaks. And another, I think, really good argument for not using language as that which sets us apart from the rest of animals is that chimpanzees and gorillas have been taught language. They just don't have the physical capacity for speech, but they can do language. So, ecological egalitarianism entails an ethical imperative. We are to treat all beings as ends in themselves, not to use them for our ends. It entails a respect for all of life and even all that exists. Life is divine and all beings are equal in their divinity. What we have in common with the non-human world is not what is lowest in human beings, as is often commonly assumed, but rather what is highest. Respect for the divine principle of life raises us beyond our full humanity to participation in a larger community. Not only ecology, but even physics has put forth a view of the interconnectedness of all. The discoveries at the micro level have put into question even the notion of matter and energy as separate. Fritjof Capra, author of the Tao of Physics, promotes the idea that the identity of an individual is indistinguishable from the identity of the whole interrelated cosmos. There have been a few people through the centuries who have expressed an ecocentric view, in particular, St. Francis of Assisi, Spinoza, Henry David Thoreau, Albert Schweitzer, John Muir, and Aldo Leopold. These proponents of an ecocentric worldview, however, were scattered and isolated, both geographically and temporally, until the ecological revolution of the 1960s, which took off in popularity with the publication of Rachel Carson's Silent Spring that I spoke about just a couple of weeks ago in the Earth Day service. The science of ecology looks at nature as integrated systems as opposed to collections of individuals. And the rise of ecology entails philosophical and religious principles that completely undermine traditional ways of understanding the human-environmental relationship. It forces us to reevaluate the dominant paradigm of Western thought regarding nature. It rejects the hierarchy of beings that makes animate higher than inanimate, animal higher than plant, human higher than other animals, and male higher than female. This new world requires us to make a radical paradigm shift. It requires us to give up the hierarchy. At its most radical, this new paradigm insists on ecological egalitarianism, that all creatures are equal. And this includes non-animate creatures like rivers and rocks. It's an interdependent web of all existence. And there is a moral responsibility that comes with accepting with humility our place as a mere strand in the web. The ethic that goes along with this is that we have no right to destroy or harm other beings without sufficient reason. This doesn't mean that we can't eat meat or cut down trees. It means we must be aware of what we are doing when we do so. If we can relate to the non-human world with reverence and respect, we will take only what we need. If we can relate to the non-human world as well as the human world with reverence and respect, we will grow in spiritual depth and realize the divine within ourselves. Humanity is simply a part of a vast interdependent web of existence, and the divine permeates the whole. It is only by realizing that we are not separate, but deeply connected to the whole, that we realize the divine within us. It is by living in harmony with the whole that we realize our greatest potential. Cultivating ecological consciousness involves working on ourselves. The process involves becoming more aware of the actuality of rocks, wolves, trees, and rivers, the cultivation of the insight that everything is connected. Cultivating ecological consciousness is a process of learning to appreciate silence and solitude and rediscovering how to listen. It's learning how to be more receptive and trusting of a universe that does provide. It also means coming to terms with the fact that death is a necessary part of life and indeed makes life possible. From an ecocentric perspective, many ethical issues arise that aren't a problem in an anthropocentric view, a human-centered view. For instance, do we have a right to capture wild animals, remove them from their environment, and put them in cages and zoos for our entertainment and education? What about using animals to do scientific research to benefit human beings? Should I use those new no-kill mousetraps? Can I in good conscience kill a spider in my house? How about a mosquito about to bite me? That's really where, well, actually, I kill spiders too, but, and mosquitoes every chance I get. But I'm not saying it's right. Then there are the environmental issues that are especially difficult because it's so hard to know all the consequences of our actions. It's often hard to see that recycling this one aluminum can will make a difference. We are so far removed, for the most part, from the processes that produce our food, our clothing, and shelter that often we are not aware of the practices those producers are engaged in. And even when aware, we may find it hard to imagine how to change the system. I don't have the answers to these questions, but I know that they become issues we need to wrestle with when we adopt an ecocentric view. To affirm our seventh principle leads to a humble recognition that we are not the center and opens us up to the awe and wonder that is the essence of a religious point of view. At the same time, affirming this principle leads to a recognition of the magnitude of our influence as a part of the interdependent web. The Unitarian novelist Herman Melville wrote, "We cannot live only for ourselves. 1,000 fibers connect us. And among those fibers, as sympathetic threads, our actions run as causes, and they come back to us as effects. On a daily basis, we affect the web of all existence just as we are affected by it." Herman Melville. That was a while ago he wrote that. We are at the same time extremely significant and extremely insignificant. We are no longer at the top of the heap, separate and special, but on the other hand, our actions and choices matter more than ever. As a part of an interdependent web of existence, we have an effect on the whole greater than we ever imagined, and we are also more dependent than we ever wanted to admit. The worldview expressed in our seventh principle presents an awesome responsibility, at the same time that it liberates us from our roles as overseers. Let me leave you with the words of the poet Denise Levertov. She writes, "But we have only begun to love the earth. We've only begun to imagine the fullness of life. How could we tire of hope? So much is in the bud. How can desire fail? We have only begun to imagine justice and mercy, only begun to envision how it might be to live as siblings with beast and flower, not as oppressors. Surely our river cannot already be hastening into the sea of non-being. Surely it cannot drag in the silt all that is innocent. Not yet, not yet. There is too much broken that must be mended, too much hurt that we have done to each other that cannot yet be forgiven. We have only begun to know the power that is in us if we would join our solitudes in the communion of struggle. So much is unfolding that must complete its gesture. So much in the bud." So let us sing once more. We celebrate the web of life, number 175 in the Gray Hymn Book, if you have it, and words will be on the screen. If you're here in person, please join us for coffee and tea after the postlude. And coffee hour will be out. It's back, but without food, and it's outside on the patio, out that side door, past this offices, past my office. And so in closing, these words from Norm Naylor, my beloved colleague from Michigan. Reminded that we are part and participants of the universe, let us go forth from the quiet of this hour, encouraged to strive toward faithfulness to the best in ourselves, in others, and in all of creation. May it be so. Go in peace.